Well, anxious to hear what y'all's take is from this morning in the courtroom.
I think that was an absolute victory.
What do you think, Marty?
I think today was a day that finally he's going to gain access to evidence, or at least there was a record made that, Justin will get access to evidence and we'll be able to give it to the experts.
Just overview-wise for the audience, how did we get in this situation? How did we get in this bad spot?
We filed John's motion on December 22nd of 2022. So we can put the medical evidence in front of the court. And on March 17th of 2023, the court essentially issued a denial of everything.
Why didn't they consider it?
That's a great question, and I can't answer that.
Okay, so look, this man's been in prison for 26 years. And I've said many times, depriving someone of their liberty in America comes at a very high standard, right? And it should be. It should be a very high standard before you take somebody out of the world and put them in a cage or take their life, even higher standard. And this man had his liberty taken from him without that standard having been met 26 years ago, right?
Right.
We all agree with that?
Absolutely.
I mean, it was taken then, and there was evidence that was available that didn't get into the record.
Right.
I've said, this is America, you're entitled to the best defense money can buy.
Right.
And he didn't have the money to get all the evidence into the record.
Pay for a doctor.
That's right. He couldn't afford to get this doctor back again.
Right.
So he didn't have that evidence into the record.
Correct.
So let's just slow down and think about that for a second. You're accused of a crime. You scrape up the money to get an expert to come in and evaluate medically whether or not there's evidence that the crime has even been committed, let alone that you did it. Guy shows up, they continue the hearing, guy has to go home. You can't afford the time, travel, and all that for him to come back a second time, so you go to trial without it.
Right.
So this man goes to trial without his expert, so he gets convicted absent evidence.
Exactly.
So here we are 26 years later, and you're having to fight to get evidence into the record so they can at least look at the facts. And that is...
It's mind-blowing.
It really is.
And no. This is, the evidence submitted in this motion is telling the court what a doctor would have testified to 26 years ago.
Right.
And there's new evidence in there too, because as you know, Dr. Phil, the science, the medical science, it develops over time. We now know more and more and more.
The prosecutors, they are a fiduciary for the public. It is their duty to stand up and say, time out, we've gone down the wrong path. We need to stop this, drop these charges, and turn this man loose. Is that the kind of DA we're dealing with here?
I hope so, I pray so. Prosecutors are quasi-judicial officers. They're not here to seek convictions, and you said that before. And I told Juliette Clark that I pray that she considers, when she gets the entire package that we're going to submit to her with all of the expert reports, that she considers really doing the right thing, because John's innocent. And the right thing would be at least to give him a new trial, at the very least.
You know, Marty, you've seen this. If you give somebody, a prosecutor, an alibi, and it's got holes in it, they're on it like a duck on a June bug. I mean, they tear it to shreds, right? If there is evidence that is being used to prosecute and convict someone, and it's full of inconsistencies, a confession is full of inconsistencies, they should rip that up the same way they do any other timeline, any other evidence. And in this case with John, a lot of the evidence just doesn't hold together
at all.
There were things in the accounting here of this crime. I believe Alyssa when she's recanting, but put that aside. There are inconsistencies when this all happened, and there are medical inconsistencies here. If this young woman was raped for 2 years, there would be
severe injuries.
Yes, and there would be physiological changes that don't sort of present. It would be
They don't
clear.
go away.
That's right.
The physical evidence in this case absolutely eviscerates the state's case.
And so the prosecutor, faced with that, you can have medical opinions and then you can have medical facts. You're adding to the record medical fact.
Facts.
They should be all over that, should they not?
Absolutely. This should not be a case where they should think twice. You know, when Justin fully submits the additional medical evidence, the additional reports, we get the additional evidence into the record, we would hope the prosecutor's office would do the right thing.
Was she resistant to that at all?
Yes and no. I mean, an appellate prosecutor's sort of first instinct is to fight. I mean, that's what their instinct is. But I said, you know, that you need to consider this. Like I said, my prayer is that they really take an honest to God look at the hard facts that are going to be presented to them. The difference is, we're not talking about concrete, right? We're talking about titanium,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
solid like that.
If there are 2 or 3 primary facts that you think are going to drive this man's freedom, things that are going to come to light that haven't been in the record before, what's going to set this man free?
Well, obviously the medical
Right.
evidence is going to corroborate the recantation. Recantations are always viewed with skepticism, right? So there's a tremendous amount of case law out there about you're supposed to evaluate. The recantation is just evidence of the unreliability of the testimony, or the character of the witness. So what we are going to do is what the case law says, which is the court has to evaluate the trial testimony. We're going to show how the trial testimony is false, not just from Melissa, but also from the doctor. The other evidence that I think is going to be maybe just as powerful, I can't really get into that. The developments are ongoing, and nothing is in the record with regard to this. And when I say new evidence, I mean this is within the last couple of days, new evidence. So I can't really disclose that yet because I haven't even put it on the table yet to everybody.
All right, these are things they have.
That they knew about before the trial.
Okay, and they didn't disclose.
Correct.
And you consider this smoking gun level exculpatory?
It's pretty darn close. This is absolutely favorable, and it's absolutely immaterial, and it goes to the heart of the reliability of the claims.
Okay. And when was this discovered?
Recently, days from today.
That you've discovered it,
Yes.
but they knew it at the time.
The prosecutor's office, or at least the prosecutor that tried the case.
If this DA becomes aware of it, that's your hope that this may not get back to the judge, that the prosecutor may come in and move to vacate this conviction.
Correct.
What's y'all's understanding of what was achieved, what happened this morning?
It's my understanding that they had their little powwow and came to a decision about the evidence that they've been blocking, and now they're all in agreement that Justin Bonus is going to get that evidence.
You know, this was an evidentiary hearing, and just so everybody at home understands, it was about the evidence, and there is evidence that was never put in the record for a variety of reasons that now is going to be added to the record and is going to be considered, one, at the DA level, because the DA can drop these charges. They can make a recommendation to vacate the conviction
Oh my God.
and end this before it ever even gets back to the judge. So it doesn't even have to go back to the court, or it can get to the judge who can look at it and say, you know, based on this, I can make a decision to vacate or send back for a new hearing. And that had been completely denied before a motion to put all this back in. It had been said, you know, absolutely not. And now it was 180-degree turnaround and said, yes, we'll do it. So this is a huge step forward.
Has anybody said why?
I think that it's just a matter of just peck until you get, you know, this judge has been on the bench for 26 months. It's a new judge. This is a DA that did not try the case, and it's just new eyes. It doesn't mean that he's going to be turned loose, but it at least needs to be heard.
The judge, when I read his record, he's worked both sides of the law. And I told the attorney, Justin, I said, I feel better about it. He's not just been part of the district attorney's office his whole career. So maybe this means that he'll be a little bit more lenient.
As I've said, the court, and certainly the prosecutor, their job is to get justice, not a conviction. Georgette, you've got an interesting position in all this because you witnessed the call between Alyssa and Aunt Stacy, right? And what did you hear?
Alyssa called and said that she couldn't go through it, that she just wanted to tell the truth, and that, you know, she knew that she made a mistake. When we got there, it was just like a tug of war. Stacy wants to see Alyssa, and the district attorney was like, no, that's it. We have her statement already on video, and that's all we need. And you're not gonna have a conversation with her. And they just kept her away from us.
Well, you said you heard her say two things. One, I don't want to go through with this. And two, I want to tell the truth. And those are two very different things. I don't want to go through with it. They could just be scared and not wanting to go down there and around all these people. But the second part of that, I just want to tell the truth. That's a very different thing than I just don't want to go through with it. You not want to go through with it because you're scared and intimidated.
Correct. Yeah, because I had already had a conversation with Alyssa. She had already told me that it wasn't the truth. But at this point, they were ready to go to trial that day.
When you went down there, the DA separated her from her
From
aunt.
us, from both of us.
From you and her aunt. Where'd the DA take you?
It was at least 2 floors above the, I guess was Judge Hand's office was on the 2nd floor.
I think they were on the 2nd floor
And then
at the
at
time.
least 4th floor in an empty grand jury room. And this door was locked, and this door had a Jefferson Parish police officer with a gun on his hip that stood there until he was given the all clear to drag me back into the courtroom. And I'm in 7th, 8th grade, 13, 14 years old at that. Took me away from everybody, completely petrified me.
And you told the DA, I want to tell the truth, I don't want to say this. What did you tell the DA?
The DA and I never had a conversation after the incident in the hallway. What she said about he doesn't need me, he's gonna put me on that stand whether I say it or not. He's got the video evidence, which is the children's advocacy video. That was a major part of today's win.
Right.
He didn't care what I had to say. So I got on the stand, and out of straight fear, because I know the things that are being threatened to my mom. I know what's being told to her by the DA's office. You know, she's panicking because Child Protection Services, you know, they're talking about putting her in jail and taking us away, and, you know, and this is just from the DA's office. This has got nothing to do with her not complying with their investigation. This was just threats if she didn't.
When was the last time that you communicated with John Kinsel?
It's been in the last couple of weeks.
Right, because he'll call sometimes, and I'll have him on speakerphone, and she'll talk, but she can't be on his call list or any visitation.
What do you say to him?
Our conversations are very short because I don't want to get him in any trouble because he's not supposed to have communications with me. And I haven't seen him in person since 2006, 2007. That's the last time that I saw him.
Do you feel a need to apologize to him?
I have apologized.
What did you say to him?
Well, it was that in 2006, you know, it was only a mouthing I'm sorry because he was in shackles and walking past me. I wasn't allowed to get close to him. And to me, a sign of respect is to apologize to somebody in their face in person.
Do you feel a need?
I do feel bad for what I did. I know that why I did it. I don't regret doing it because in my mind, I was saving my mother and I was protecting my baby brother.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.